There are two kinds of rules in life: the ones they teach you, and the ones no one dares to say out loud. The second ones, those are the real ones, the ones that control rooms, open doors, and quietly decide who dominates and who disappears. Most people think power is what you show, but real power is what you never reveal. It's not in loud speeches. It's not in flashy achievements. It's in what you withhold. Because in public, you're not just being seen by people. You're being watched by time. You're being measured by opportunity. And you're being tested by those waiting for you to fall. You don't rise by looking impressive. You rise by being untouchable. And that's the Machiavellian game nobody teaches you. The powerful never chase attention. They pull it. They never beg to be understood. They force people to wonder. They don't fight for space. They make people create space for them. And what destroys this power? Not failure, but 9 human behaviors that quietly kill your mystique. Before you ever notice, let's begin. Never complain in public. People think complaining makes them relatable. It doesn't. It makes you small. When you complain, you scream to things, "I have no control, and I need you to care." Both are deadly. Power is magnetic when it walks through storms suddenly. When you complain, you stop being a mystery. You become a victim. And the world begins to treat you as such. The most dangerous person is not the one who smiles through pain. It's the one who shows no sign the pain even touched them. That's who Machiavelli would trust. That's who people follow. Endure privately. Let them guess how you survived. That's where power begins. Never reveal your insecurity. Insecurity is not just something you feel. It's something you teach people to believe about you. Say, "I'm not confident enough" times. And soon no one will trust you to lead. Say, "I'm not good at this," and soon they'll stop giving you chances. People don't see your potential. They see what you give them to see. So, when you feel unsure, you don't confess it to the crowd. You stand taller. You walk slower. You control your breath. You become the calm you wish you had, even when you don't believe in yourself. Make them believe in you. That's how power speaks, without words, through posture. Through the things you refuse to reveal. Never boast about your plans. You've seen it. People loud about their next big thing, their next move, their next win. And you know what happens? Nobody supports them. Nobody feels urgency to help them. And worse, everyone now knows exactly where to sabotage them. Machiavelli smiled at those people. Because when you speak your plans, you build a roadmap for your enemies. Move in silence. Let your results arrive before your announcement. Let your next win knock so loudly that people ask, "When did that happen?" When they ask, just smile. Say nothing. Power accumulates when it moves quietly. Let them guess where you are. Let them guess what's next. Never publicly pick sides in small fights. When you see two people clashing, it's tempting to defend one, to prove your loyalty. But loyalty in public makes you predictable. Machiavelli warned, don't step into battles where you gain nothing. Don't inherit enemies you didn't need. And don't reveal your values before you can enforce them. Let them fight. You observe. You remember. You position. Silence is not cowardice. It's chess. Public neutrality preserves your power to influence later. Jumping into petty conflicts only burns that power too soon. The most powerful people wait. They wait until both sides need them. Never chase attention. Desperation has a smell, and it's loud. People can feel when you need their approval, when you try to force laughter, when you fish for compliments, when you beg to be seen. And the moment they feel you need them, they own you. the people who control rooms. They're the ones who act like they don't need the room. They walk in slowly. They speak less. They don't laugh unless the silence demands it. And that's what makes everyone else lean in. You want to attract power. Be the one who could leave at any moment and still remain unforgettable. Never crack under pressure. Not even slightly. Arguments, accusations, moments of public tension. These are not accidents. These are exams, and most people fail not because they explode, but because they leak. Their face twitches, their voice tightens, their shoulders drop. People pick up on it instantly, even if they don't know they did. And in that moment, you lose your legend. Machiavelli would absorb the pressure like stone absorbs rain. Even when boiling inside, he'd remain composed outside. It's not about being robotic. It's about being controlled. When nothing rattles you, you become the person the room orbits around. Never over-explain yourself. You make a move, people question. What do most people do? They panic. They overtalk. They try to justify. And the second you start explaining, you lose the frame. You're no longer leading the moment. You're following it. Machiavelli never explained. He redirected. When challenged. He wouldn't defend. He'd simply say, "Perhaps you misunderstood me. Or better, perhaps you understood me perfectly. Leave it there. Let them question themselves." When you stop justifying, you stop surrendering your power. Never show bitterness about rejection. Someone ignores you, leaves you out, picks someone else. It stings. But what's the worst thing you can do? Show that it stings. When you reveal your pain, you broadcast that you noticed, you cared. And now you've been weakened by it. Machiavelli would call that emotional suicide. When rejected, respond with stillness, not sarcasm, not fake laughter, not revenge. Just quiet detachment. Make it seem like they just freed you. Because here's the secret. They expected you to chase. When you don't, the balance flips. They start chasing their own mistake. Never publicly attack someone more powerful. This is not about fear. It's about intelligence. Criticizing someone above you in public rarely damages them. It damages you. It makes you look jealous. Even if you're right, it makes you look small, even if they deserve it. And worst, it forces them to notice you, and they will move to neutralize you. Machiavelli never fired first. He studied, he waited, he chose the perfect moment to strike, and often, he let someone else do it. Because power is not about saying what's true, it's about knowing when. The truth is useful. The way you preserve your power is not by winning every battle. It's by choosing the battles no one sees coming. And the way you gain power is not by being impressive. It's by being untouchable. You've now seen what to avoid. But the game isn't just about subtraction. It's about installation. What do you build in place of what you've removed? That's where we go next. Before we continue, comment this phrase right now. Real power isn't. Let's see how many in this room understand the difference, and if this resonates with you, subscribe, because the next part will go deeper into what to install when you've removed these weaknesses. You've subtracted the behaviors that destroy power. But power is never just the absence of weakness. It's the careful addition of presence. When you remove what weakens you, you create a vacuum. And the world doesn't tolerate empty space. People will project something onto you. Your silence, your pauses, your refusal to explain. But here's the secret. You don't let them project randomly. You guide their projections with precision. This is where your real work begins. Not in noise, not in performance. In sculpting an image people cannot easily label but cannot stop thinking about. Replace complaints with unreadable endings. When people complain, they reveal need. When you endure in silence, you create mystery. Machiavelli would never show pain. He would weaponize it. When people watch you go through stress, loss, pressure, and you don't flinch, you begin to disturb their certainty. They start asking, how bad was it? Why didn't he break? What is he planning in return? Your silence in suffering becomes louder than their screams, because people fear what they cannot measure. You don't need to pretend happiness. You don't need to fake a smile. You just need to hold a level of stillness that forces them to question their own strength in comparison. That's presence. Your pain is your weapon, but only when it stays unreadable. Replace insecurity with strategic ambiguity. The insecure person explains, they overshare, they ask for correction. The Machiavellian master does the opposite. He leaves people unsure on purpose. You don't say, I'm confused, you say, I have something in mind, and nothing else. You don't admit what you don't know. You ask questions that shift the weight back onto them. You're not pretending to know everything. You're forcing them to question what you know, because when people believe you're playing a longer, hidden game, they start overthinking everything you do. Your ambiguity forces them into hesitation. And hesitation is where power changes hands. Replace boasting with subtle power signals. The loud person announces power. The powerful person lets power leak. You don't tell people you're building something. They notice your time is protected. You don't say you've won. They see your calm while others celebrate. You don't say you're a leader. They find themselves looking to you in uncertain moments. That's how power works, not through announcements but through delayed revelation. When you master this, even your absence becomes a signal of movement. Replace public loyalty with quiet allegiance. When others fight loudly for their tribe, you move quietly. You can have alliances, but the ones you build in secret last longer. You can protect someone, but you do it in silence. Public gestures of loyalty are theater, and most of them cost more than they give. Machiavelli's loyalty was private. Because when it's private, it's real. Support people in silence. Defend people when no one knows. You're defending them. That's when you become irreplaceable. Because the one who supports you privately is the one you trust when the storm comes. Be that person. Replace attention-seeking with controlled withdrawal. The loudest person in the room is almost always the weakest. Why? Because they need the room. You don't. You don't laugh unless the silence begs for it. You don't speak unless the room waits for you. You don't stand in the center. You stand just outside the spotlight and pull attention there. Humans chase contrast in a room full of noise. The one who holds himself apart becomes the gravitational force. Machiavelli understood that rulers don't win by noise. They win by making others adjust to their pace. That's how you control a room, by being slightly out of reach. Replace public breakdown with pre-planned stillness. When someone challenges, you don't defend. Don't attack. Hold the stare. Pause your breath. Lean back slowly. Let the silence expand. People expect you to react. When you don't, they unravel. Your stillness isn't a mistake, it's a weapon. It forces them to fill the space you left empty. They start over-talking. They start losing rhythm. They start losing themselves. You look like you planned the entire thing. Because the person who can remain still under fire always owns the frame. Replace over-explanation with micro-mystery. When you explain too much, you shrink. When you say just enough, you haunt them. Instead of defending your decision, you say, let's see how it plays out. Instead of justifying your behavior, you say, it made sense to me. Now they work to understand you, and in the process they overbuild your legend. People will always assign more meaning to what they had to chase than to what was freely given. You don't need to be fully understood. You need to be interpreted. That's the secret. Interpretation is more powerful than clarity. Replace bitterness with the quiet exit. When you're rejected or overlooked, don't retaliate. Don't perform anger. Don't fake indifference. Just leave. Withdraw your presence. Withdraw your attention. Withdraw without spectacle. When you leave quietly, you create an ache. People expected you to fight for them. When you don't, they start chasing what they've just lost. Now your return, if you choose to return, holds double the weight. Machiavelli didn't burn doors. He walked away from them and let others knock them down later. Replace criticism with delayed precision. Never strike the moment someone offends you. Wait. Study. Let time reveal their weakness. And when you speak, drop a truth so precise, so surgical, that it lands like a quiet explosion. You don't say, "That man is weak." You let his actions prove it. You wait until his collapse is already in motion, then you whisper one sentence to the right ear. This is power. Not in volume but in timing. When people expect you to explode and you don't, your silence becomes a trap. And when you finally speak, your words sound inevitable. You've now seen what to install. But the highest level is not just what you show. It's what people build about you when you're not even there. Comment this right now. I build in silence. Let's see who's ready to play the long game. If you're still here, it means you're serious about this. Subscribe now, because in the next part, we're going deeper into how to craft your legend when you're not in the room. Real power doesn't live in what you show. It lives in the stories people tell about you when you're not there. Machiavelli didn't want to control the room. He wanted to haunt it. And legends, they don't need to speak. They echo. This is where you begin to shift. From a visible presence to an invisible influence. The goal now is to build a myth around your absence. When you're gone, people should still feel your weight in the air. Your name should carry a pause. Your silence should pull conversations toward you. But how do you build that? You become slightly less available than expected. When others arrive early, you arrive just on time. When others linger, you leave while interest is still rising. When people try to finish a conversation, you end it first, with a phrase that keeps spinning in their heads. Sentences like, "That's a good place to pause for now. Let's finish this another time. You'll understand why. I've got something to handle. You'll hear about it soon enough." You say it with calm, not arrogance, but you leave them wondering. Because timing isn't just about when you speak. It's about when you walk away. The strongest people don't need the last word. They need the last moment. When you leave, you should take their curiosity with you. Machiavelli knew that a room forgets what you said, but it never forgets the weight you left behind. Master this. Leave before your presence decays. Exit while attention is still warm. Because when you're gone, the silence you leave behind becomes the canvas for your legend. And here's where you go even deeper. Let other people defend you publicly. Most people panic when their reputation is attacked. They jump to defend themselves. But when you defend yourself, you validate the accusation. Machiavelli never would. He moved through life trusting his silence would summon defenders, quiet allies. People who would speak on his behalf, not because he begged, but because his absence forced them to. When you live with precision, someone in the room will always crack the narrative for you. Someone will step in to say, "No, you don't understand him. You don't know what he's building. You don't see the whole picture." That's power. When you don't fight rumors because the myth fights for you. Speak in ways that people want to quote you. Move in ways that people feel smarter defending your silence. And when someone questions you publicly, simply say, "They're entitled to their view," and watch what happens. The crowd will take care of the rest. Because rulers don't defend their crown, the people do not master the exit moment. You can win a conversation. Win a room and still lose the legend if you exit wrong. If you stay too long, if you overstay your curiosity, if you let the crowd dismiss you before you leave. Machiavelli's strategy was to vanish while you're still in control when you leave. They should talk about you not because you begged for it, but because your timing demanded it. You walk away mid-conversation. You withdraw with a reason, but not a full explanation. I've got something to finish. I'll let you sit with that for now. Let's continue later, it's better that way. These exits create a gap. And people always chase what leaves too soon. The crowd should feel like they missed the end of the movie. Like they were 2 questions away from unlocking you. That's the grip you leave behind. The exit moment isn't an afterthought. It's your stamp. Use silence as a trap, not just as protection. There's a silence that shields you and a silence that pulls people into mistakes. When someone tries to provoke you in public, pause. Don't speak. Don't react. Don't defend. Just give them your stare. Let your stillness become a vacuum. The longer you wait, the more they unravel. They start over-talking. They start over-explaining. They start exposing what they didn't mean to reveal. Because most people cannot survive their own noise, Machiavelli would watch them fall into their own words. Your silence forces them to reveal who they really are. The wise man waits not because he's passive, but because he's pulling the other person deeper into their own trap. The foolish rush to fill silence. The powerful let silence swallow the unprepared. Redirect questions into questions. When people try to corner you, demand answers, or search for your mind publicly, never answer directly. If they ask, "Why did you do that?" you say, "Why does that interest you?" If they ask, "What's your next step?" you say, "Wouldn't it be smarter if I didn't say?" When you answer questions with questions, you flip the entire power structure. They stop chasing your words, they start chasing your mind. They stop asking for answers. They start questioning themselves. Machiavelli knew, when you redirect, you own the moment. When you defend, you lose it. Use micro movements to disturb the room. Big gestures, loud voices. Fast movements, those offer the insecure. You move with minimalism. You create tension with a glance that lingers half a second too long. You sip your drink slowly after someone's passionate speech. You smirk when others are trying to prove something. These micro signals tell the room, I'm not reacting because I already understand. You control the pace not with volume but with precision. You become the person they feel but can't decode. And when they can't decode you, they start adjusting themselves round you. Publicly praise the powerful with surgical precision. You don't criticize the powerful in public, not because you fear them, but because you gain nothing. Instead, you offer sharp, simple, undeniable praise. She doesn't need to speak, you can feel her presence. His timing is always perfect. You notice when he's in the room even before you see him. Why do this? Because the powerful remember who protects their image. You become their quiet ally, not their submissive follower. You gain cover without losing edge. You're protected, but you're still dangerous. Never reveal you're truly watching. In public, pretend your focus is casual, but you are always scanning. Who's chasing attention? Who's pretending not to watch you? Who's subtly competing with you? Machiavelli's eyes were always gathering. You become dangerous when you collect data that no one knows you're collecting. The one who watches everyone and never shows it is the one who can destabilize the whole room at the perfect time. Respond to disrespect with calculated absence. When someone cuts you off, subtly disrespects you, or tries to minimize your presence, don't fight. Withdraw. Withdraw your words. Withdraw your attention. Withdraw your energy from them without spectacle. Start speaking to someone else. Shift the energy. You don't punish them. You let them punish themselves. When they realize you've detached, they'll start performing harder. And in their desperation, they'll lose the frame. Machiavelli's revenge was elegant. He didn't crush his enemies. He let them dissolve, drop timed phrases that haunt them later. You don't need to dominate the entire conversation. You need to say one sentence they can forget. Things like, "Sometimes silence is louder than shouting. You'll understand later." Power doesn't need to respond. It just observes. Say it calmly in passing, not as a punchline. And when you leave, the phrase stays. That's how you expand your influence beyond the room. Not by speaking more, but by speaking carefully. Comment this right now. I don't chase rooms, I shake them. Let's see who's truly ready to build presence. If you're learning something powerful here, subscribe now. In the next part, I'm going to show you how to control a room so deeply that people feel your weight before you even speak. By now, you've built a presence that haunts the silence. You've crafted a myth that survives your absence. But there's one final layer: controlling the emotional temperature of the room. Machiavelli didn't just walk into spaces, he adjusted the space around him. When you enter a room, you don't aim to be liked. You aim to become the center of gravity. The goal is not to compete for attention. The goal is to change the room's tempo until everyone is moving to your rhythm. Most people walk into a room trying to fill the space. You walk in and pull it inward. But how? You control your pace. You don't rush to speak. You don't match the room's energy. You bring your own tempo and make others slow down to meet you. When people talk fast, you talk slowly. When people try to provoke, you pause. When people demand answers, you respond with a glance, a faint smile, a silence that forces them to lean in. The more you slow the room, the more you own it. And this is the secret. The most powerful person isn't the loudest, it's the one who makes others adjust. Control eye contact like a blade. There are only two eye movements that crush an opponent publicly. You hold their gaze until they break, or you refuse to look at them at all. Machiavelli knew that your gaze is your most silent weapon. When someone attacks you in public, you hold their eyes not with aggression, but with calm, unblinking poise. They'll flinch first, they'll look away, and the room will see it. And if someone beneath you tries to bait you, you don't engage. You scan past them, like they don't exist. Not with arrogance, with surgical coldness. And that's what the crowd will remember. Not what you said, but who couldn't handle being seen, or worse, who wasn't seen at all. Respond to provocation with elegant redirection. The most dominant people don't win public arguments. They make arguments irrelevant. When someone tries to pull you into a verbal fight, you pivot. You shift the topic with such smooth detachment that the aggressor looks foolish for trying. If someone insults you, you smile faintly and say, "That's an interesting angle." Anyway, back to the point. You don't block their attack, you step round it, and the room notices. Soon they'll stop trying to bait you. You've shown that you don't fight battles you didn't choose. You're not in the room to win arguments. You're in the room to install presence. And here's where you go further. Let public spaces turn you into a living riddle. Most people walk into a room trying to be understood. You walk in to remain slightly unreadable. Warm eyes, calm posture, silent movements, a soft smile but cold timing. Sometimes you engage. Sometimes you withdraw. Sometimes you laugh. Sometimes you simply stare. You're always polite, never predictable. This is the tension Machiavelli built. The man who can't be easily labeled becomes unforgettable. People will obsess over understanding you. And in that obsession, they'll start reshaping themselves around your energy. You don't need to tell them who you are. You let them chase the answer and never fully find it. You don't build followers. You build interpreters. Craft your absence into a myth The strongest rooms you'll ever control are the ones you're not in. When you leave slowly, without explanation. You speak just enough to ignite curiosity. You move just enough to remain unfinished in their minds. People should leave saying, I wonder what he's thinking. I wonder what he's building. I wonder why he left so soon. That's power. Not presence, but residue. Your myth doesn't shout. It echoes, and here's the last move. Drop timed phrases that burn in their memory. You don't need to dominate every conversation. You need to deliver one sentence that haunts them after you're gone. Sentences like, power doesn't respond. It observes. You'll understand later. Silence is the most strategic sound. Say it slowly. Say it calmly. Say it without emphasis. Let the weight of your words settle in the silence. The best phrases, the ones that build legends, aren't shouted. They're whispered and they linger. You're not there to impress them. You're there to disturb their certainty. That's what Machiavelli mastered. The art of crafting a living contradiction. Present but distant. Polite but untouchable. Visible but unreadable. You become a gravitational force not through volume but through mystery. You don't just walk into rooms. You recalibrate them. You don't just speak. You plant echoes. You don't just exist. You bend the story. Comment this right now. I don't explain, I install. Let's see who's truly ready to control the tempo. If this video made you think differently, if it challenged you, subscribe right now. Because on this channel we don't just study power, we build it. And if you're serious about shaping presence, crafting myth, and mastering silence, I'll see you in the next one.